Welcome back for another video. It's the final team selection video this side of the World Cup. As usual, we'll be running through the Gameweek16 team selection and the final transfer plans. If you missed the Gameweek16 players to buy video, there's some great 1 week punts to consider. That video will be on screen at the end. So starting with a quick look back at how Gameweek15 went. Where do we start with this one? So the suspended Tony was sold for Wilson, who was unfortunately off at half time as his cold got the better of him, and he said he felt like he didn't have the energy for the second half. His substitute Wood actually went on to score and Newcastle won 4-1. And then we had the news that Foden was benched, so Bowen was the replacement. He has 2 home games before the World Cup. He's got a great record at home. 10 of his 12 goals last season were at home, and all returns this season at home. Rashford was the other one considered, but nothing from him either. Then of course we had the news of Haaland's benching, so Salah was sold for De Bruyne, who without the power of hindsight, he was undoubtedly the best captain, with Fulham rock bottom for expected goals conceded heading into that game. Cancelo's red card did change the game though, and you're left wondering what could have been there. Well done if you did have Salah though, he did score twice, and he has a better fixture in Gameweek16 too. It felt like a good opportunity before we're all back on Haaland captain. If not for the red, who knows how comfortable City wins that, they were cruising before. And lastly, Mitrovic was unexpectedly missing from the squad as well, so Dyer auto subbed on. Poor gaming, but hopefully a reassuring watch for many of you if you had a better week. I've seen some great scores this week, so let's take a look at how the team's shaping up for Gameweek16. Newcastle are home this game week, up against Chelsea, who failed to score last game week. Pope's now the top scoring keeper with 65 points, and his 6 clean sheets this season is joint most. In fact, he was minutes away from keeping the 7th last game week. Trippier is the top scoring defender too, by some margin, now 20 points clear of Cancelo with 89 points. 5 attacking returns this season, though with such high ownership for both him and Haaland, it is a bit tricky to find those big rank swings upwards. Cancelo serves his red card suspension in the League Cup midweek when Man City face Chelsea, so fortunately he is back and available for the Brentford game. Seems many are unaware of this fact, as he's the second most sold player after Foden with over 200,000 sales. Certainly a fixture you keep him for, up against Brentford, who have been poor as of late, and it is a home fixture for City. He owes us all one after that -2 last game week. Spurs have been disappointing in recent weeks, just the 1 clean sheet from Dyer since transferring him in. Certainly he's the one name that won't be sticking around in the team when we're coming out of the World Cup. Last chance for a bit of redemption up against Leeds, who are on 2 wins on the bounce themselves. The midfield is De Bruyne, Zaha, Martinelli and Bowen. There's still potential for the De Bruyne transfer to pay off, but it'd need a monumental score from KDB and a quiet game from Salah, which realistically is not likely. Nonetheless, it's a great fixture for City, and we're expecting Haaland to return to the starting 11 after narrowly missing out last game with an appearance off the bench. It's a nice fixture for Zaha to finish on too. He's been a frustrating player for many, blanking against the likes of Everton and Southampton before a 12-pointer against West Ham, which looked a tougher fixture. He did play centrally, which could only be a good thing, and it is Nottingham Forest away before the break. 5 goals, 3 assists for Martinelli this season, and he's done enough to play his way into the World Cup squad. Really happy for him, and he's up against Wolves who have a single point from their last 4 games. Over those 4 games they've conceded 10 times. I wonder if Gameweek16 will give Gameweek38 vibes, where the goals are absolutely flying, or whether we actually see the opposite, with some players hesitant to pick up an injury right before the World Cup. Let me know what you think below. And lastly, Bowen completes the midfield. Not a great transfer in the end last week. Maddison should have been the one, 2 away games for him versus Bowen's 2 home games, so it was a close call. The two faced one another this weekend, and perhaps not ideal timing for Bowen, as Leicester look a different side defensively to the team we saw, who set a record early in the season for the most goals conceded in the opening games. 4 clean sheets in their last 5 for Leicester. You'd imagine Bowen isn't going to make the cut for the World Cup squad, so he's probably a player with nothing to lose. He's another one very unlikely to be in the team the other side of the World Cup, so a parting gift from him would be absolutely incredible. The front 3 is Mitrovic, Haaland and Wilson. We'll be playing it by ear regarding Mitrovic and Wilson. I've heard some murmurs that Mitrovic will be back and play him, and it is a reasonable fixture on paper, playing at home against Man United, who have just conceded 3 to Villa last weekend. 9 goals and 11 starts for the Serbian this season. It's hard to look beyond Haaland captain again, which was really what made De Bruyne such a tempting captain last game week. Just 26 minutes off the bench in the Fulham game, and they were a man down, but he was very involved. He had a goal chalked for offside, and then he scored a late penalty to win the game. He won't be going to the World Cup either, so it looks bold to bet against him this week. Since it was only a cold that forced Wilson off, we'll hope and assume that it's not serious enough to stop him playing next week. He's perhaps on the brink of making the England squad, and a good showing here could be enough, so he'll be highly motivated. I don't doubt he would have gotten something had he remained on the pitch against Southampton. Chelsea have lost their last 2 in a row, and the 2 before that both draws, so they're out of form and Newcastle in with a fair chance here. On the bench is Everson, Andreas, Nico and Fofana. We might get a surprise or 2 right before the World Cup, so Andreas is a perfectly adequate option off the bench if required. He's managed to pick up points from our benches this season a lot, including that penalty last match. There's a few ways to go with the transfer plans this week. It will largely depend on any news we get in the coming days. If Mitrovic is out, then there's the option for Jesus, or Firmino if Firmino drops by 0.1 mil. Likewise, if Wilson's out, the same moves are possible. The team looks in good shape, and there's also the option to just reverse the De Bruyne transfer and go back to Salah. I considered selling Trippier to Robertson as a 1-week play, but after looking into it, we've got a lot of money tied up in Trippier, so I won't go there. Let me know how you got on and what your plans are for Gameweek 16. I'll be making some World Cup fantasy content over the break, so make sure you subscribe for that too. Thanks for watching, see you soon for the next one.